They did not hurt you because you were weak. They hurt you because you became strong enough to see right through them. It is a massive misconception that narcissists only prey on vulnerable, fragile individuals who are easily broken. In reality, the exact opposite is true. They look for people with high emotional intelligence, deep resilience, and a solid sense of self. But the moment a narcissist realizes they can no longer control your mind, your emotions, or your identity, their goal shifts completely. They switch from wanting your love to wanting your absolute destruction. They become completely obsessed with breaking your spirit because they cannot cope with the fact that their usual mind games no longer work on you. The one thing a narcissistic person absolutely cannot survive is losing psychological power over you, because your independence forces them to face their own internal emptiness. When you stop bowing to their demands, you strip away their control, and that drives them into a desperate panic to bring you back down to a level where they can manage you. If any part of this layout describes exactly what you have lived through, take a single second right now to subscribe to the channel. This journey is not about celebrating weakness. It is about recognizing that understanding manipulation is the ultimate key to reclaiming your peace, your identity, and your emotional clarity. By educating yourself on these patterns, you are actively taking the weapon out of the manipulator's hands. If this message hits home, and you are finally ready to step into your power, leave a comment below with the words, "I see the truth now." Let it be a definitive marker that you are no longer playing by their rules, and that their ability to manipulate your reality has officially come to an end. Narcissists do not target people out of simple random cruelty, nor do they look for broken individuals to fix or take care of. They are emotional predators, and like any predator, they actively hunt for high-value targets. They seek out confident, emotionally aware, highly functional, and deeply independent individuals. Your inner strength, your natural light, and your stability are highly attractive to them at first. Being near your grounded energy makes them feel secure, important, and elevated by association. They desperately admire your honesty, your genuine emotional depth, your empathy, and the beautiful fact that you do not constantly need validation from the outside world to know your own worth. They look at your life, your confidence, and your inner peace, and they want to wrap themselves in it because they completely lack those qualities within themselves. They mimic your traits, match your energy, and love bomb you because your authenticity feels like the ultimate prize to conquer. But that initial admiration quickly rots into a toxic hidden resentment that poisons the entire relationship dynamic. The very traits that made them fall for you become the exact same traits they grow to despise. The psychological reason for this shift is brutal. Your ability to see reality clearly naturally exposes the massive, undeniable gap between their fake public image and their deep, painful inner insecurity. You possess a genuine confidence that they can only pretend to have. When you start setting healthy boundaries, questioning their obvious contradictions, refusing to accept their shifting goalposts, or stop begging for their approval, they do not see it as normal, healthy relationship behavior. They view your clarity as a dangerous direct threat to the fragile mask they wear to survive. Because you are strong and authentic, you become a walking mirror that forces them to look at their own flaws, their own deceits, and their own vulnerability. Since they lack the emotional maturity to handle that internal shame, they decide that instead of fixing themselves, they must break the mirror, which means they must break you. To a narcissist, losing control over how you perceive them is not just a minor disagreement. It feels like a deeply humiliating existential threat. Their entire life is built on a carefully constructed illusion of superiority, and they absolutely depend on you to validate that illusion. The moment you start seeing behind the mask, their fragile ego experiences an intense wave of internal shame. Because a narcissist lacks the emotional maturity to process or sit with that shame, They immediately try to escape it by launching an external war against your mind. They shift their focus entirely toward conquering your reality. To do this, they will systematically mock your confidence, dismiss your gut feelings as paranoia, suddenly turn ice cold without explanation, and purposefully manufacture chaotic situations. They throw everything at you simply to make you doubt your own sanity, your memory, and your judgment. This toxic behavior is not always a consciously planned evil master plot cooked up in their minds. More often, it operates as an automatic, unconscious defense mechanism designed to stop them from feeling small, weak, and exposed. When they see you standing firm in your truth, it triggers their own feelings of inadequacy, and their instinctual reaction is to bring you down so they can feel big again. If they can successfully force you to emotionally collapse, cry, feel overwhelming guilt, or second-guess your own perception of reality through gaslighting, they instantly feel a rush of relief and power. They use your confusion and emotional distress as a psychological drug to regulate their own unstable ego. Your independence directly threatens their mental stability because their entire self-esteem is completely artificial. It relies entirely on keeping you weak, insecure, and deeply dependent on them for validation. This psychological dynamic is the exact reason why a narcissist will actively act out and punish you the very moment your life begins to get better. In a healthy relationship, your partner celebrates your wins, but a narcissist views your progress as a direct threat. When you start becoming genuinely happier, more self-sufficient, healthier, or more successful in your career, they will not offer genuine praise. Instead, you will notice them becoming suddenly irritated, emotionally distant, passive-aggressive, and highly critical of your achievements. Your positive growth actively reminds them of a terrifying reality they want to ignore: that you are building a life outside of their influence, and their psychological access to your mind is officially expiring. Your success triggers their deepest, most desperate, and most hidden fears of abandonment, loneliness, and absolute insignificance. Instead of pulling off the mask and admitting that they are terrified of losing you or being left behind, they project all of that toxic internal discomfort onto you. They will quietly attack your new goals, subtly mock your ambitions, question your loyalty to the relationship, or aggressively accuse you of changing for the worse and becoming selfish. Because a narcissist completely confuses control with genuine connection, they do not understand what a mutually supportive relationship looks like. To their distorted mind, your emotional freedom, self-trust, and personal growth do not look like healthy human development. They feel like an intentional act of aggression and a betrayal against them. Narcissists absolutely despise boundaries because boundaries act as a hard brick wall that completely cuts off their supply of emotional control. In the real world, a healthy boundary is nothing more than basic self-respect. It is simply you drawing a clear line in the sand and outlining what behavior you are willing to accept and what behavior you will no longer tolerate from another human being. But inside the distorted mind of a narcissist, a boundary is never viewed as a normal, healthy limit. Instead, they interpret it as a direct act of war, a deeply hurtful personal rejection, or flat-out disobedience against their authority. They truly believe they have a right to unrestricted access to your time, your thoughts, your energy, and your emotions. When you suddenly say no or place a restriction on how they treat you, you are actively shattering their belief that they own the relationship dynamic. This is why even the most reasonable, polite, and gently phrased requests for basic honesty, a little bit of personal space, or simple accountability will trigger a massive, disproportionate overreaction. The moment you ask them to respect your limits, They will instantly shift gears to protect their ego. They might explode with terrifying anger and rage, flip the script to use the punishing silent treatment for days on end, or lay on heavy guilt trips designed to make you apologize just for speaking up. The issue at hand is never actually the boundary itself, nor is it about whatever specific rule you tried to set. The real issue is that your boundary aggressively forces equality, fairness, and mutual respect into a relationship dynamic that the narcissist specifically built from the ground up to be completely imbalanced. They cannot function in an equal partnership. They can only function when they hold all the cards and all the power. In a genuinely healthy relationship, love is built on a solid foundation of empathy, emotional safety, vulnerability, and a deep respect for each other's individuality. But for a narcissistic person, a relationship is never a safe haven. It is an arena designed entirely for validation, ego stroking, and psychological dominance. Because their core motivation is to feed their own fragile self-image, it makes their affection highly conditional. You will notice that you only receive warmth, attention, smiles, and kindness when you are actively playing the role they assign to you. As long as you are building them up, agreeing with everything they say, and completely ignoring your own needs to reinforce their superior self-image, they will treat you like royalty. The exact second you step out of line, resist their demands, or dare to think for yourself, they will instantly flip a switch and replace their love with brutal emotional punishment. This rapid back and forth is precisely why the dynamic becomes so incredibly confusing and psychologically damaging for you. Those brief moments of intense affection, sweetness, and romance feel completely real to you while you are experiencing them. In reality, those moments are highly effective tools used deliberately to pull you right back into their toxic orbit whenever they feel you slipping away. They love bomb you just enough to keep you hooked, keeping you constantly chasing that initial high of their approval. Eventually, the painful truth clicks. You have completely stopped being treated like a human partner, and you have simply become an object used to regulate their deeply unstable, fragile emotions. Beneath that loud, arrogant, and superior exterior, narcissists are not nearly as confident as they want you to believe. In reality, they are entirely driven by a fragile ego and three massive, deep-seated terrors: abandonment, shame, and exposure. They spend an immense amount of daily energy constructing a fake lifestyle built on high status, rigid control, or social dominance. They do all of this for one reason only: to build a protective shield around themselves, so they never have to face these core vulnerabilities. They are terrified of looking at who they actually are underneath the mask, so they force everyone around them to look at a manufactured version of them instead. They need you to believe they are untouchable because, deep down inside, they feel completely empty, broken, and insecure. The moment you choose to withdraw your attention, stop feeding their ego, or calmly expose their flaws, their internal shield shatters. This triggers an immediate wave of intense, blinding psychological panic inside of them. Because a narcissist completely lacks the emotional intelligence and maturity to process this heavy pressure internally, they cannot sit with their own shame. Instead of dealing with it like a healthy adult, they immediately project that toxic inner discomfort outward by trying to destroy your reality. They want to make you feel the exact same chaos and brokenness that they are feeling inside. When you look at their actions, it looks like cold, calculated, and powerful cruelty. But when you unmask it, you realize it is actually a desperate, frantic attempt to avoid feeling ordinary, weak, or exposed to the world. This internal panic is the exact reason Why a narcissist's cruelty always intensifies the very second they realize they're losing their grip on you. What you experience as a beautiful, necessary path to your own personal freedom, they experience as a catastrophic, terrifying loss of absolute power. This is why so many survivors are completely shocked and blindsided by how vicious, mean, and aggressive a narcissist becomes when the relationship finally ends or when you walk away. They do not accept the breakup gracefully, and they do not wish you well. Instead, their behavior escalates dramatically because their source of emotional control has been completely cut off, and they will do anything to force you back into submission. To regain that control, they will quickly shift tactics and do whatever it takes to break your peace. They will stage sudden, malicious smear campaigns behind your back to ruin your reputation with your friends and family. They will purposefully create absolute financial or emotional chaos, or they will flip the switch and fake massive, tearful promises of radical change just to drag you back into their toxic orbit. Even when they provoke you into a massive argument or make you cry, that negative reaction serves a specific purpose for them. It proves to their ego that they still have a hold over you and that they still matter in your mind. This is why true, cold, emotional detachment hurts a narcissist far more than a screaming match ever could. When you finally stop reacting, stop explaining yourself, and stop caring, the connection completely dies, and their power over you completely vanishes. The single hardest truth to accept on this entire journey is realizing that they never attack you because you lacked value, worth, or importance. In fact, the absolute opposite is true. They attacked you because your inner light was so incredibly bright that it naturally exposed the deep hidden darkness they spend their whole lives running from. Your strong boundaries aggressively challenged their unearned authority over your life. Your natural independence completely threatened their toxic need for constant influence and control. Your emotional clarity was like a bright spotlight, forcing them to look directly at the terrifying empty space hiding right behind the fake mask they wear for the world. They didn't see flaws in you. They saw a level of wholeness, truth, and authenticity that they desperately wanted for themselves, but knew they could never genuinely possess. Your existence was a constant reminder of everything they lacked. So their only solution was to try and dim your light, to make their own darkness feel less noticeable. True, deep healing begins the exact moment you consciously choose to stop taking their toxic behavior personally. You have to realize that the way they treated you was never a reflection of your character, your love, or your value as a human being. Their constant manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional cruelty were never proof that you were broken, unlovable, or fundamentally flawed. It was always the ultimate proof of their own internal desperation and psychological fragility. They were fighting a losing war against their own insecurities, and you just happened to be the closest target. Real, authentic strength is not about learning how to beat a narcissist at their own twisted mind games, nor is it about getting revenge or matching their toxicity. Real strength is about completely removing yourself from the board and refusing to lose your mind, your peace, and your identity while trying to force a connection with someone who is psychologically incapable of giving or receiving healthy love. From this moment forward, you must actively choose clarity over confusion and radical self-respect over mere emotional survival. You have to stop playing the role of their emotional punching bag just to keep a fake peace in a toxic relationship. The ultimate victory over a narcissist will never come from making them finally realize, admit, or understand what they did to you. Because a person wearing a mask will never confess to the lie. They are never going to give you the closure or the sincere apology you deserve. Instead, the ultimate, undeniable victory is knowing your own worth so deeply, so completely, and so unshakably that their chaotic attempts to confuse, hurt, or destroy you simply no longer work. When you reach the point where their words can no longer shift your reality, their silence can no longer cause you anxiety, and their manipulation falls completely flat, you have won. You win by taking your power back, reclaiming your life, and stepping into a level of inner peace that no toxic person can ever touch or take away from you again.